Hello and welcome to News Central TV. My name is Mazino Peel. First up, would like to apologize for starting a little late. This is due to the NDDC program just aired. But now, the top stories this hour. Ousted Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Mudashiru Obasa, storms complex with armed police, insists he is still Speaker. And Nigeria Air Force raises alarm over Al-Qaeda groups exploiting weak governance structures in Nigeria. Also coming up, several killed as explosions rock M23 rebels rally in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Details coming up now. Let's begin by telling you that the ousted Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Mudashiru Obasa, has stated that he has resumed his position as the parliament's leader. Now, Obasa stated this on Thursday after returning to the Assembly complex with police and state security service details for the first time since he was removed on January 13. The developments followed the withdrawal of the security aides of the Speaker, Mojisola Miranda. The Assembly has been embroiled in a leadership crisis since Obasa's removal as the Speaker and the subsequent election of Miranda.
As you rightly said, I'm here. So as I'm here, it simply means the house is on.
Well, sir, on social media, we have information flowing that you barged into this premises.
Confirm it now.
So we're trying to confirm from you. Can you tell us exactly
so what are you implying? Are you saying that I broke it or I broke the door to get access? Is that what you are saying?
I don't know,
so
sir.
So I go and confirm now. If you have had, then confirm from your source. He will do what?
Good.
Allege will do what?
Must prove.
Okay, sir, have you been reinstated? Are you back now?
I've told you repeatedly, I've never been removed. There's nothing like impeachment. So I don't know what you are saying. I've said this openly.
Sir.
That everybody, remove, what is it called? Impeachment or whatever, or removing is not democratic and constitutional. But in doing that, to achieve that, you must follow the due process. Nobody is against. I'm not against being removed. If I do that, then I'm not democratic. But all we are saying, let us go through the normal process and achieve that. So if we do, fine. That's just, I'm not against anybody. I don't have anything against anybody. All my colleagues, they've always been my brother. They have always been loyal. They've been dedicated. A strong commitment to serve the people of Lagos. And we'll continue to do that together. For me, I have no reservation, nothing against anybody, and no intention of victimization. So
okay, sir. What
is the case about? What is the case about?
About who the current...
I don't have anything like that.
Okay, sir, are you not disturbed that currently members of the party, they are now being pitched against one another over this crisis?
No, our party is one. We are all brothers and sisters.
But we just had honorable members who said that...
Party.
Who said that they have a new leader now.
Everybody is entitled to his or her. Thank you.
So what's next?
Now joining us to help make sense of this, legal practitioner Tunji Abdulhamid is with us this evening. Mr. Abdulhamid, thank you very much for joining us. Welcome. Now, what is your take on the latest development at the Lagos State House of Assembly as we have just seen?
Yeah, the development in Lagos State Assembly is a new phase in the policies of Lagos State. Lagos State being a state that has been controlled by one party in the last 20 years, and it's been a state that people believe that no disagreement will happen regarding who becomes this, who becomes that. But we are seeing that now. So it's a new phase, and I see it as a struggle for the leadership of a political party in Lagos State. Bearing in mind that the president will do it probably, in quotes, if you give me an opportunity, will do a second term, and probably after the second term may not be interested in controlling having the stronghold of the Lagos State. People are positioning themselves to ensure that, look, I am not left out of this situation. Because once you are, as Obasa as Speaker, he has a lot of benefits, and that will make him more relevant in the policy of Lagos State. Living as a Speaker and becoming an ordinary member of the House will not help him achieve his political ambition and political position. I think that what is playing out is just a mere is a new phase, and it is a consequence of lack of obedience to rule of law. When you do things not in line with the rule of law, we are bound to see this kind of a thing. We like to do things by force, and it appears our democracy in Nigeria today now, those people with force are those who can have the opportunity to do whatever they want to do.
Now, by force, when you say do things without the rule of law and the reference to force, are you referring to who now? The legislator who sort of impeached the speaker, or the speaker himself? Let's be clear on that.
No, the lack of obedience to rule of law, based on the facts and that we have been hearing, probably the assembly that removed Obasa probably did not do the right thing.
Okay.
In terms of in quotes, because we are told that at the time that sitting there was aired to remove him, the house was on recess. And if the house is on recess, there are procedures to bring the house back, and the speaker must be aware of that process. From what we are hearing, the Obasa appear not to be aware of that situation. So his argument is that the process was not followed. The force here is Obasa has to do with Obasa coming back to the house by force, and that is because he has the support of the security agencies. Security agencies, without security agencies, he will not be able to come on his own.
So let's talk about that now, Mr. Abdulhamid. Let's talk about that regarding the security agency with him as he came back to the house today. Is there any constitutional provision that allowed him to use police force to re-enter the assembly complex after being removed from office?
That's one of the force I'm talking about. There is no law that allow anybody to use police force to do anything. In fact, if you want to enforce judgment of court, you cannot directly use police to enforce it. Just like what is happening in Osun State, it's illegal. Police have no power to enforce judgment of court or order of court. And in this case, there's no order of court. There's nothing. So I don't know why, bearing in mind that we know that the speaker, as of today, as of this morning, is a Miranda, whether legally or illegally. Whether I'm not saying that's not to say is correct or not, but we have been told that she was appointed by the majority of members. So if the process is being challenged, Obasa has gone to court and he has done the right thing. Then he does not want to wait for the court because it appears the court is getting slowing down the process. So that's why I said use of force. Now that he has come by force, with the support of the military security agencies, his appear is now taking over the assembly on his own, and those people cannot do anything. So it's unfortunate that we are not playing politics in Nigeria. We're not doing democracy in Nigeria. We are playing. When people talk about politics is a dirty game in Nigeria, I say no. It is not the politics that is dirty. It is the people that are playing it that are dirty.
So in the event of an ousted speaker like Obasa here who disputes the removal process, what legal recourse is available for him to challenge the decision? Now, you've said that he went to court, but perhaps the court are too slow. So, I mean, it's a bit of a confusing situation if the opportunity is there for him to use legal recourse, but he's throwing that to one side. What's your take on that?
There's nothing confusing here. It's only that because we like to take law into our hands and do things in our own way, rather than do it in line with the law. The members of the House of Assembly fail to follow the law. He himself has also not now joined them in doing things the way he will achieve his own result. He believes that if he decides to do what he's doing now, he may get result, and it appears so. So for me, and that's why I say the rule of force sometimes pays off in Nigeria. When you can do things by force, people will clap for you and then they will even appreciate you. That's the way it is. For me, it's all about lack of the obedience to rule of law. We disrespect rule of law in Nigeria. We don't like to follow due process. When you do the wrong, two wrongs cannot make it right. He is claiming that they are wrong, but he's also going about recovering his position in the wrong way. You cannot. According to him, he's saying he was never removed. That is the position. He was never removed. That what they did was the kangaroo or illegal. It's like what is happening in Rivers State today. You can see what now we have probably two speakers in Lagos State.
Do you think that is all he has to go on? The fact that the rule of law was not followed, so that emboldens him to do what he's doing now? Or do you think he has other sorts of perhaps maybe backings?
Of course. You cannot have that kind of support when you don't have people who are powerful behind you. Well, how will he get the support of the police and the security agencies without the the power that be. You know, in Lagos State is a special state. We know the leader. The leader is there. The president of the country today is the leader of politics in Lagos State. And whatever that must happen in Lagos State, it must be with his consent. So for me, nobody would, for me to believe that the president is not aware of what is happening in Lagos State today, it would be a surprise to me, and it would be a surprise to me. I'm very sure Obasa had the support of those power that be in Lagos State, and that's why he's doing what he's doing.
Well, Mr. Abdulhamid, thank you very much for giving us your opinion.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
Now, staying with legislative matters, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan has called for the live broadcast of sessions during a probe that will look into her conduct when she fell out with Senate President Godswill Akpabio over seating arrangement at the Senate. The Kogi Center lawmaker, in a post across social media platforms on Thursday, declared that Nigerians have a right to witness the process. She was referring to the Senate's Ethics and Disciplinary Committee following her face-off with Senate President Godswill Akpabio over a seating arrangement. Akpoti-Uduaghan said she was ready to face the panel, but would not allow the matter to be handled behind closed doors. The PDP lawmaker said she refrained from speaking publicly on the issue and other developments in the Senate, but had now decided to break her silence. Now let's head to Abia State, where the Julius Abure-led Labour Party in the state says the House of Assembly members representing Isiala Ngwa South state constituency on the platform of the People's Democratic Party, Rowland Dennis, is yet to be received by the state chairman of the party. In a press statement signed by the acting publicity secretary of the Labour Party in the state, Chuks, Egeonu, the party distanced itself from Emmanuel Otti, saying the only recognized state chairman is Prince Ndubueze by the Abure-led executive. The government further says, or rather the statement further says, Emmanuel Otti is not a member of the Labour Party and accuses him of allegedly deceiving their members into joining the Zenith Labour Party on the eve of the local government elections in 2024. Now, the Nigerian Air Force said Al-Qaeda-affiliated extremist groups were exploiting weak governance structures to expand their influence in Nigeria, West Africa, and the Sahel region. NAF also stated that porous borders in the Lake Chad Basin had allowed the extremist elements to sustain their activities, posing a persistent threat to the national security and regional stability. The federal government, which also identified porous borders, added that ungoverned spaces also constitute major factors exacerbating terrorism and other emerging security threats in West Africa and the Sahel region. Speaking at the first quarter meeting with branch chiefs, air officers, commanding and commandants at NAF headquarters in Abuja, Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Hassan Abubakar, called for the implementation of a comprehensive counter-unmanned aerial vehicle system to safeguard troops and air assets. We're now going to break, and when we get back, Nigeria's air chief warns of increased regional burden after Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso exit from ECOWAS. Details shortly. Welcome back to Health Matters. Now, Director General of the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, has called for life sentences and death penalties for individuals involved in drug crimes. Adeyeye made the call in Abuja while addressing State House correspondents. She urged the National Assembly to incorporate these penalties into the amendment of the NAFDAC Act and the Counterfeit and Fake Drugs and Unwholesome Processed Foods Acts. Meanwhile, Adeyeye also said her life is in danger due to her crackdown on fake and illicit drugs.
I said it takes a village to raise a child. It takes executive, legislative, judiciary to make this happen. If somebody, not if, there was a case of somebody trafficking in Tramadol and they sentenced the person to 5 years or 250,000 naira. What is that? So the legislative has to come alongside with us. Customs have to come alongside, not with us. All of us working together. because the life of our people matter. So the amendment is going to be very, very relevant in terms of moving forward. Provision in the amendment.
And so to help make sense of this, we are joined by Chairman, Chidikon Medical Center, Owerri, Professor Philip Njamante. Professor, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Now, sir, what are the potential public health and medical implications of implementing the death penalty for drug-related crimes in Nigeria?
Yes, yes, I heard the announcement by NAFTA and the call to the National Assembly to impose death penalty. We have a lot of death penalties for a lot of offenses, including kidnapping, armed robbery, but it didn't stop the crime. So, yes, she has a point to make there that, yes, you need to impose stricter sentences. But I wouldn't say that death sentence will be the way to go on this, because there are different grades of these crimes. Now, the more lasting solution, which the National Assembly and the legislative branch should be preoccupied with, is what we call prescription rights. In Nigeria, the doctor does not have exclusive prescription right. So when you don't give the doctor the exclusive prescription right, that as it is in every country which has, at least to some extent, solved this problem, you make it that it's free for all. Everybody can prescribe a drug, everybody can purchase the drug. There is no real distinction between prescription drugs and over-the-counter drugs. So the problem is inherent in the defect of an absence of what we call the prescription rights law. So that's the correct approach. So the NAFDAC, the legislative branch, the government, the federal government should focus on the draft law on the prescription right, so that you can't get any drug dispensed from anywhere without the prescription of a doctor. What this does is that it regulates almost automatically the drug supply and its dispensing, and makes it also that the drugs are tailored to the purpose that they were made, because somebody who is well informed is prescribing that, and that's the correct thing to do. Now, if people were now to go outside acting against this prescription right, that's when you bring, sentences, maybe even not the death penalty, but even if you bring 14 years, 13 years, 10 years sentences, this would be most appropriate. So I think the problem here is that we are having the wrong focus. We are trying to solve a very complex problem with the wrong legal instruments. The correct legal instrument is prescription rights, where the doctor is the only person authorized to write a prescription for a particular purpose, and the pharmacist is the one to dispense this drug according to that prescription.
But doctor, that provision already exists. There are certain drugs you cannot get over the counter except with a prescription. But it still persists, these counterproductive ways of getting these drugs, or even selling these fake drugs. So how does that help the problem? But then again, given the burden on drug abuse on healthcare services in Nigeria, how can the medical community also support law enforcement in trying to help them tackle these issues?
Yeah, I actually contest what you just said, that it exists. It may be in some kind of theory that there is prescription rights. There is no prescription rights law that is being implemented in the Federal Republic of Nigeria today. So it actually requires, when you mandate a prescription right law, it actually is very encompassing. Right from you must have the prescription itself becomes the legal document, and so it's not what is happening now. What is happening now is just a mockery of prescription rights. Now, the counterfeit, yes, there will be drug counterfeiting. There will also be, it does not prevent drug counterfeiting. And the NAFDAC is doing a wonderful work, and we must commend them, the gentlemen and women who are working in NAFDAC, put their life on the line because these criminals are very deadly. And she's right to underscore that even her life as director will be at stake because dangerous criminals will be after her. This happened in those directors that for those directors that were there in the past. So the adequate protection of the law enforcement machinery we have in this country for those people who put their life on the line working for NAFDAC must be in place. However, having said that, the issue, we must streamline the supply of drugs. So that means we really know who are legitimate importers of the drug. If we have to, where we have to import, and when we are making this in the country, this must be going to a particular chain that is licensed. Now, the use of fentanyl or tramadol or any of this is also a regulation that can be achieved through regulating the borders of this country. What is happening is not just unique to Nigeria, it's happening in the States, in the United States and other countries, that most of these manufacturers from abroad are pushing these drugs through the borders of porous borders of different countries, including Nigeria. So I think this has to go just beyond Nigeria, whereby we have to have security agreements with countries, but if you the People's Republic of China, India, and several other manufacturers of these drugs. So we really need this to go international so that we can have a comprehensive security agreement in which this is streamlined. So they start policing the drug manufacturers from their source. I mean, we know that they have their Nigerian counterparts who actually might even be traveling there to request the manufacturing of these drugs. So we can have a cooperative chain. And once there is such treaty, either within the orbit of, you might talk the BRICS countries or other EU, Nigeria or EU-AU agreement. So once we have this security agreement, it will actually pin down these criminal manufacturers right from their source. And then we have to also do our own part here and use our law enforcement agents to crack down on this. And I must commend NAFDAC for the tremendous work they are doing, and also wish that the whole country, not just the legislative, but the people support this work because it is very useful for the country.
So, final question would be, what are the ethical concerns from the medical perspective regarding the death penalty being called for by the NAFDAC DG?
Yeah, well, the ethical issues here, I think to some extent, and this is my personal opinion, really, I will underscore, that we are abusing the death sentence. When you apply the death sentence, what happens is that the crimes become more deadly because the stakes are very high. So let's say, for example, if the drug dealers notice that some people we are going to even provide or inform on them, instead of what they do now, probably to go and bribe them and forget, they will now strive to kill those people, you see, because the stakes are too high for them. So you will see these crimes, when you impose the death sentence, you will see these crimes become far more deadly because those involved have a higher stake in which they have to eliminate all manner of witnesses, all manner of people. And this is what has been noticed, not just in Nigeria, in all other countries where the death sentence has been imposed. So I kind of feel that we should not abuse the issue of death sentence and issues. It should be used as the last resort. And we have to do the needful, and we are not doing the needful. And the most needful thing is to actually legislate the prescription rights. And then once we have that, we now have a clear chain in which we, how the drugs are prescribed and how they are should be implemented. And the people going outside this, that's when they break the law.
Professor Ndubueze, that's a very interesting final take there. Would like to say thank you very much for giving us your expert opinion.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, sir. Moving on now, Nigeria's military faces growing security challenges following the withdrawal of Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali from ECOWAS, says Chief of Air Staff Air Marshal Hassan Abubakar. Speaking in Abuja, Abubakar warned that the move has weakened regional security, affecting joint operations against Boko Haram and ISWAP. He stressed the need for a stronger response from the Nigerian Air Force. He also highlighted new threats, including Boko Haram's use of drones and terrorist expansion into coastal West Africa. The United Nations Children's Education Fund has called on Nigeria's government at all levels to minimize dependence on foreign aid for its health sector to prevent disruptions that will affect healthcare delivery. The UNICEF country representative to Nigeria, Christian Munduate, made this appeal during the closeout ceremony of the handover of the primary healthcare system's strengthening initiatives to the governments of 8 benefiting states in the country. Our correspondent Joshua Imarayi has more on this.
The Primary Healthcare System Strengthening Initiative, which has supported healthcare delivery in 8 Nigerian states for the last 3 years, is transitioning the program ownership to the respective state governments. The initiative, which ended with a national closeout event in Nigeria's capital, Abuja, was a collaborative effort between the International Vaccine Alliance, Gavi, the Federal Ministry of Health, UNICEF, and the 8 participating states. According to stakeholders, the program was designed to enhance routine immunization and strengthen primary healthcare systems.
And we set out some really bold ideas for how that support would translate into system strengthening, into routine immunization, into leadership, into health workforce, to address the needs and the gaps that we had collectively identified. We're learning what worked well. We need to learn what didn't work well so that we can continue to improve.
Stakeholders, however, urged the government to minimize reliance on foreign aid to prevent potential disruption to the country's healthcare system.
Now, looking at what is happening at the global level, we need to really reduce the reliance on others at all levels. What has happened by this US government decision has shook us to the core. But honestly, I think we knew this was coming because we cannot be forever rely on external support. All of us need to have our own ownership, our own accountabilities and own responsibilities as well.
My dear governors, my dear medical personnel, we are challenged to take responsibilities for obvious reasons. In the long run, we should be prepared in case there's what we call donor doubt, donor denial, donor fatigue, and eventually donor stoppage. If we don't get ready for that, a calamity is waiting for us.
As Nigeria takes full ownership of the primary healthcare system strengthening initiative, stakeholders say the need for sustained investment in healthcare is imperative to ensure long-term resilience. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarayi.
Several people were killed and injured in explosions that occurred Thursday during a rally of M23 and AFC rebel groups in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Reports say the coordinator of the AFC M23 groups, Corneille Nangaa, was about to end the rally in Bukavu when the explosions occurred. The M23 group has intensified its territorial control in eastern Congo since December, recently seizing the provincial capitals of Goma and Bukavu. Now, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has criticized the lobby group of AfriForum for what he describes as their troubling efforts to sow divisions into South Africa. Now, these come in light of AfriForum's visit to the United States, where they, alongside the Solidarity Movement, submitted a memorandum urging the U.S. government to intervene in South African policies. President Ramaphosa emphasized the importance of unity and warned that seeking foreign intervention threatens to deepen divides in the nation. AfriForum's CEO, Kali Creole, has defended their action, stating that their attempts to engage with the White House stems from a belief that the South African government is ignoring their concerns.
And we embrace one another and we build a nation. We will never be able to build a nation by just going to complain to other nations in the world. That's how we solve problems. Well, there are people who are saying that, you know, something needs to be done to them and all that. And I would say that we need to be sending a clear message to them that as far as we are concerned, as proud South Africans, we prefer that we should all stay here and solve our problems. And already what they are doing has spawned divisions in our nation. And that is not a nation-building process of running around the world to try and have your problems solved. You are just sowing divisions. Because now a number of South Africans then start looking at others negatively. And I don't think that that is the right way to handle our problems.
Okay,
Hamas has called on Israel to enter negotiations for the next phase of the Gaza ceasefire after the group handed over the bodies of 4 hostages in exchange for hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. The swap, undertaken under cover of night, was the last in an initial series agreed under the terms of the fragile truce, which took effect on January 19th and largely halted the war in Gaza. Under the first phase of the deal, Hamas freed 25 living hostages and returned to Israel the bodies of 8 others, some of them dual nationals. Israel, in return, was expected to free around 1,900 Palestinian prisoners, among them women and minors, in staggered releases. U.S. President Donald Trump has stated that Europe should take responsibility for providing security guarantees to Ukraine, dismissing any assurance of Washington's involvement. His remarks come ahead of a meeting with UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer at the White House, where Ukraine has been a key discussion point. Starmer reiterated his call for a U.S. security commitment to deter further Russian aggression. Meanwhile, Trump confirmed that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will visit the Oval Office on Friday to sign a major agreement on sharing Ukraine's mineral resources. Zelensky has, however, described the deal as preliminary and has emphasized the need for further agreements, including U.S. security guarantees. The talks come amid ongoing tension with Russia as Ukraine continues to seek international support against renewed threats. Nigeria's overall inflation rate has declined by 10%, a positive sign. However, food prices continue to soar, straining consumers' purchasing powers. Now, despite government's intervention, Nigerians still pay more for essential items such as bread, garri, meat, fish, rice, and vegetables. A persistent concern impacting the well-being of the population, especially lower-income groups. Now, earlier today on Business Edge, my colleague Lekon Onabanjo spoke with Felicia Owolope, investment research analyst at Meristream Securities Limited, about her perspective on the government's interventions to address the high inflation rates in Nigeria.
Maybe a last-minute result to bring down inflation. It's a long overdue exercise that should have been, taken. Rebasing is supposed to be done every 10 years, and the last time rebasing was done was over a decade, so I would say it was long overdue, even though one of the results or one of the outcome of this rebasing was a reduction or a new inflation level, really. That's just the best way to put it. But looking at government initiatives, to drive increased production of food, since food has been a major, contributor to inflation. If you look at the previous methodology, the food basket or the food component at 51%.
The Nigerian Football Federation have decorated a total of 30 referees with a badge of World Football Governing Body, FIFA, thus conferring on them the authority to perform as international arbiters in the year 2025. President of NFF, Alhaji Ibrahim Musa Gasal, performed the decoration alongside the chairman of NFF Referees Committee, Mrs. Faith Irabo. General Secretary Dr. Mohammed Sanusi and the head of the NFF refereeing unit, Alhaji Sani Zubairu, referees Abubakar Abdullahi, Kashimu Abiola Abdusalam, and Yemisi Akintoye, among others, 7 others, assistant referees Iyaduni Abibatu, Stokul, Faith Agbons, Tijani Ahmed Mustafa, among 8 others. Futsal referees Al-Hassan Belazuru, Dong Davo Musa, John Tope Ojele, and also Ndubisi Uka. The Accra Sports Stadium will host Ghana's crucial 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifier against Chad on the 21st of March. This match offers the Black Stars a vital chance to revive their campaign after a disappointing 2024. Otto Addo's squad faces immense pressure to deliver, with back-to-back qualifiers, including a clash against Madagascar 3 days later. Ghana must capitalize on home advantage, address defensive lapses, and improve attacking efficiency to secure much-needed points. With national pride and World Cup hopes at stake, the team aims to regain momentum. The upcoming fixtures are critical in shaping their qualification journey, and the support of the home crowd could play a decisive role in their resurgence. Now, TKO Group Holdings, the parent company of UFC and WWE, is close to securing a deal with Saudi Arabia to establish a new boxing league. Saudi investors have increasingly backed major boxing events, hosting top fights like Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, and Alexander Usyk. Under the proposed deal, TKO would oversee promotion, production, and daily operations without financial investments, earning a fee of at least $10 million. Additionally, TKO is set to manage the 4 major fights in 2025 and 26. Saudi Arabia's influence in boxing has grown through its Riyadh season banner, hosting events globally. Now, critics argue the kingdom's expanding role in sports is aimed at enhancing its global image amid ongoing human rights concerns. And that's all this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories we brought your way. Ousted Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Mudashiru Obasa, has stormed the complex with armed police, insisted he is still Speaker. And Nigeria Air Force has raised alarm over Al-Qaeda groups exploiting weak governance structures in Nigeria. We also told you that several people have been killed as explosions rocked M23 rebels rally in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Now do remember, you can watch News Central live on DSTV, channel 422, Star Times, channel 274, Avo TV, and of course on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. My name is Mazino Appeal.